Jody Williams, we're on live.
What's up, Ryan? Everybody, welcome. Good morning. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to this awesome show between the Can-Am Connection. I am one of your co-hosts, Tom Zink. That's Rick Martell. We are the Can-Am Connection.
The model, Rick Martell.
But
and I'm
first things
spraying
first.
Arrogance everywhere.
Yes. Marco GT5, Dan Woodley, Kenny Ferguson, Jay Clean, Billy Berg. What is up, everyone? Open discussion, open topic. First thing, everybody in the chat, and Espey, did you catch Ozzy's 26-hour show?
Not one single minute of it, Jody.
Well, here's the funny part. I chimed in not once, but I chimed in twice.
I didn't even know it was happening until I heard Neil talking about it.
Yeah. So you want to know the cool thing about that? I chimed in about 8 something.
Uh-oh. Ladies and gentlemen, let's be sure that we're not losing connection here. All right, guys. Tell me if you can see me. Tell me if you can hear me, because I am here. Jody is having some technical difficulty. Maybe it's on my end. But, all right, it is Jody. We will wait for Jody to come back and fix his stuff. I think he just logged out and he's logging back in. He was on a roll. We were talking about a topic of which I have no knowledge, and that was Ozzy's. That's good. Thank you, Marco. That was Ozzy's 26-hour broadcast. I'm going to give Jody a minute to come back and continue. You guys need to come up with some stuff for Jody's soapbox, because I don't think he has one today. Make sure we get him going on something. He's anxious to do that. We're going to get into a whole bunch of stuff today. While we're waiting for Jody, let's talk about the Russian Nationals happened last weekend. Don't have much more news than that. We've got a ton of things to talk about. The Tsar comeback. The East versus West qualifiers are now concluded. So someday, somewhere soon, we should see the final list. I am personally not competing in the finals. Got my rationale for that. I'm doing the Canadian Nationals instead. All right. Was crazy this last weekend. Billy, tell us about that. Are you talking about your tournament? Jay Clean, what other things doesn't he like in relation to arm wrestling? I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe drugs in sport? But let's see. Getting into some topics I don't want to get into without Jody here. Maybe let me show you guys a photo. I was talking to Pradeep and he brought this to my attention. And I'm going to share my screen. This right here is a picture of the start of the left-handed Matt Mask versus BLM match. What can you guys tell me about what you see here? What is wrong with this picture? I'll wait for you. Jay Clean, Kenny, be more specific. What do you see wrong with this picture? I see two things that come out immediately. Starting position, yes. What about it, though? Seems fine for a high hooker. Interesting. Pronation, not straight, not shoulder square. This is apparently how the matches started between BLM and Matt Mask. This was kind of pointed out to me. We're talking about it not because I want to pick on any referees here, but this is the kind of stuff. Apparently, Matt Mask tore his pec in this match. So what we're looking at is right before the start. Looks like the referees are about to start this match. James Clark says, I don't think we've ever seen someone's shoulder touch the pin pad before the start. Anyway, let's get this off of here. We're waiting for Jody to come. He's coming in. Referee blind. I don't know about that. Anyway, that might have been Jody's soapbox moment had we done that if he was here. That's the kind of things we're seeing these days, I guess, when it comes to refereeing and arm wrestling. So unfortunately, that's what we're dealing with. And it ended up leading to an injury. Good morning, Russ. Actually, you know what, Jay Clean? Normally, Matt is quite excitable at the table. He looked pretty calm and collected throughout that event, but he did injure himself. And speaking of injuries, it seems like there's been a lot of torn biceps lately. I don't want to talk about too much before I actually talk to the people it happened to. But we had one guy from Manitoba and then one of the top guys from Ontario have injured or re-injured themselves. Billy Berg had almost 30 amateurs show up for the finals. East versus West qualifier was crazy. The last one in New York. Heard there was a whole bunch of Canadians down there. Yannick made the trip. And if Jody can't get rebooted soon, we might have to put this on another link. Covering the knuckle. James Clark, I didn't even look at that one. There's so much going on there. Now we have this fine balance between the refereeing. Everyone wants to see a pin, but at what cost? Is the calm mat worse than the wild horse mat? Explain. James, me and Yannick were in the finals left hand. James, did you win or did Yannick win that match? Billy is you're packing your van and going to Virginia. That's a drive. I should have called. You should just call Jody and have a nice long cell phone conversation. He's trying to get back in right now. Kenny, he doesn't seem explosive now and lets people have everything they want in the setup. Well, you certainly did that weekend. Maybe I think what we saw there is perhaps just Matt being extremely confident and comfortable. Maybe he just didn't need to fight. If you're thinking about past matches, I think Jordan Sonev, was super comfortable throughout the process as well. What do I think of Larrett stinging himself with bees? GB, I have no idea what you're talking about. But I am interested to see what that is and why he was doing that. Make sure you people hit the like, even though it's a one-man show today. Jody is on his way back in. He says it's just taking a long time. Will a left bicep tear affect a right-handed match? Yes. Yes, it will. If you're used to utilizing the peg a lot, it will definitely have an impact. And it can cause you discomfort and pain on the other side when you're arm wrestling. I do not watch Devin's stuff most of the time. I am not a subscriber, but sometimes I see his stuff pop up and it looks to me like it's something that might be interesting. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Jody, we're talking about Devin Larrett stinging himself with bees.
To make his hand big?
Yeah, I guess so. I didn't watch his video because I don't usually.
Sorry about that, guys. Had some technical difficulties. So
what were we just talking about before you left? You were talking about Ozzy.
So guess who chimed in on the Ozzy show?
Who?
Gary Roberts.
Well, he was the last guy to do the marathon show.
Right. So Gary chimed in. I'm thinking, whoa, and we're chit-chatting. And of course, Gary still got some things he's hung up about Ryan Bowen. He's not a real Ryan Bowen fan.
That seems
ever
to be
since
a
he took his
growing
footage
trend.
and redid all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, Gary tells us a story. I'm thinking, don't worry about it, Gary. And he tells us a story that, took 25 minutes long, but that's just how Gary is. But he was like, hey, one more thing. I was like, yeah, what's up? He goes, he's back in Oregon now, right? And I'm thinking, okay, what's up? He goes, what's up with the Oregon practices? I'm like, well, we just had a Oregon rankings practice deal last weekend, but that's the last big one. Why? What's going on? He goes, he wants to get back into it, do some pulling, maybe do some filming. I was like, I'll tell you what, I'll come to your house and we can sit there and talk turkey. I'm like 3 hours away from Gary's house, by the way. I kid you not. I got off the show in this office, jumped it because I was already going to a buddy's house north in the state, 3 hours away anyway. So I said, Gary, give me your address. I'll go ahead, jump in the shower, drive up there. Shit you not, 3.5 hours later, we go back on the show at Ozzy, and I'm sitting next to Gary in his backyard. So, Gary's got some things coming up. He's not going to release yet, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. So that was the my experience with the 26-hour talking to Gary, just like I'm talking to you. 3.5 hours later, I'm at his house. So that was pretty cool. So, but stinging bees, huh? What is going on with that?
I have no idea, man. I didn't watch it. I just got finished telling everyone I don't watch any of Devin's stuff.
Right.
Because a lot of it, I just, it's not for me. We'll say that. It's not for me.
Well, I will say this. Over the past weekend, we, U.S. citizens, just had our one of our many nationals that took place. This was the IFA Nationals that took place up in Joliet, Illinois, suburb of Chicago. And that took place over the weekend. You still got the Unified Nationals, which is so IFA obviously qualifies you to IFA Worlds. Then the Unified U.S. Arm Wrestling Championships qualifies you to WAF. So that's coming up next month, I believe, in Kansas City. So there is that. So, but other than that, that's pretty much what happened there. I know New York had the last, if I believe it's the last East vs. West qualifier in Utica. So I think all the qualifiers are done. And if Billy Berg is on the show, where can we get a list of all the qualifiers? That would be interesting because that would be a show in itself right there to find out who's there, who's going to compete, that kind of stuff.
Here's a question for you, Jody.
Do I think Gary can finally find a good arm wrestling with family life and balance? Well, can anybody? I mean, it's when your kids are real young, you don't really pull as much. But when they get to a certain age, as they get older, you can. So he's starting over, new wife, new kids, they're real young. So he might be bogged down. He was at the Washington State Championships a couple years ago. But it's rough because I've been there. But see, now my kids are adults now, where when I got into it, they were really not real young, but they're young enough to where I go to tournaments here and there in earshot distance. And then, when they got into the sports, and I kind of peeled back on the training and the tournaments. But now they're adults now. I got free reins to go compete here and there. So that's a tough question, Scott. So that's my honest opinion. But
I have an opinion about that because I've seen Gary over the years.
Yes.
He is the kind of guy that when he does anything, he puts too much of his energy and time into it. Now, in some cases, that can be a good thing if you're trying to be successful in business, but you also need to find the balance. So
Yeah.
I think where Gary falls off a little bit is he goes hardcore, so much so that everything else takes a back seat. And you cannot do that when you have a family at home.
I know people like that. I know personally people like that where they put this sport on a pedestal and everybody else is secondary or thirdary. That's not even the word, is it? Well, you know what I mean. But what they do is that they're so involved with it. Now, granted, Ryan, I'm sure you thought about this sport 24/7. I thought about this sport 24/7. You guys in the chat has thought about this sport 24/7. But sometimes you got to realize that when you see these athletes like a Travis or a Devin, all they do is arm wrestle, arm wrestle, arm wrestle. They are at a point where they could probably do that. Me, I'm still a 9-to-5 guy. For me, this right here is all those trophies you see sitting back there. Those are, it's a hobby I do, right? At the end of the day, it's just a hobby. So, and I've said this time and time again on your show, I said on my show that I am not, and I underline that with caps, not an elite arm wrestler, which means I have to go to the depths. I got to sleep, eat, drink this sport. And I do to a certain degree, but I still got a family and they're first. So you don't have to, my wife told me one time, you don't have to go to every tournament, So.
Jody, when you were gone, we talked about this. I just wanted to show you that. That's a setup. That's before the go, right before the go.
I tilt like that, but not like that. Like, what
so
I do, if anybody
shoulders and
my shoulders are square, but I kind of dip like this. They're square, but I dip like this. My hand is still in the. It's like if I'm in the center, right? I'm in the center, but I kind of just do this. I kind of dip to the side, because that informs me that I can still see the back of my hand.
Yeah.
If I can do this, and I don't see the back of my hand, then I'm already turned in. So I go to the table, I kind of do this, and I lean this way, almost like a slingshot. So when I say go, I swing my body and then bring my hand with me. But BLM is way like this. Like, I didn't know you can do that but then again, the refs allowing it, so I don't know.
Yeah. We were going to touch on the dark card.
Yes. We know one match. It was Craig Sanders and Kevin Palco, who, by the way, just won Nationals. Congratulations, Kevin. Mega Slice says, how good U.S. Nationals IFA qualifier level? That's still a cloudy. I think IFA will get better, but until we eliminate the two split nationals in our country, it's, half go to WAV, half go to IFA. They're in thirds, okay? There's a reason why USA doesn't send their best anymore, because a lot of them, like a Ron Bath, Travis Bajent, John Brezink, those guys have been there and done that. Like, they've won their champion. They've won their world titles. Dave Chafee, they've won their world titles. And now they're at a point in their life, in their career now, where it's like, okay, why should I go over there if I'm not going to get any kickback money, where I can stay here in the States when Wall was going on and I can make, I don't want to say a shitload of money, but a good chunk of change staying in the States. Or if I go across to Turkey or Dubai, they're paying me to go. Why would I want to go to, Worlds and pay all that and not get anything back? So that I do understand. But that's why USA doesn't send their best anymore, and
Well, that's the great debate, man, because somebody actually asked me. I told them I wasn't going to the finals. I was going to nationals. The question was, why nationals? Well, a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm expected to go because I'm now the Canadian Arm Wrestling Federation president.
right.
Number two, I am training my daughter for arm wrestling, and she wants to go to the nationals to compete. And she wants to go somewhere to compete where she's not, well, this is my sentiment as well. I want to go where the playing field is a little more level.
Right.
And in fact, if I had my way, I would have drug testing implemented at the national level. Because there needs to be a lane for this sport. Because right now, I think it's going down a path where it looks all really good. Like everything looks really great. The sport is bigger than it's ever been. But we also have no controls over what is going on in the sport as far as enhancement, all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
So I have this fear that we are on the verge of disaster. I mean, we know that people openly talk about this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know that there's no secret on a lot of the guys who's using, we just don't know how much. Larry Wheels has come out and said the drug use in arm wrestling is bigger than in most other sports at that level. And he's coming from a bodybuilding, powerlifting, and strongman background, saying that as a lot. The one thing that hasn't evolved in arm wrestling is training and nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
There seems to be a mentality, and I'm going to probably take some shit for this one, but there seems to be a mentality that it's not about evolving training or nutrition. It's just about adding more shit, adding more drugs to the mix,
right,
in order to get better. And there are no controls beyond WAF or IFA level. And there's so many guys that never were accomplished at those levels that are now like the kings of the sport in another realm. You know what I'm saying? How are guys that are pushing 50 years old, where they spent the majority of their 30s dominating a lighter weight class, but not at a world level, are now the world elite in our sport?
It makes you scratch your head, right? But I tell you what, and I'm only speaking for me, I am either beating people or I'm hanging with some studs, and I got very, very low testosterone. Not afraid to admit that, not afraid to broadcast that, right? So, I'm going through the sport going, you know what? I'm doing it for fun. If I could hang with some of these young studs, I'm doing all right, Armwrestling opened my eyes to a lot of stuff that, yes, when I was over there, I was the oldest competitor over there. Yes, I was like, okay, I might have been out of my realm, but I was hanging with these guys. And I'm like going, we're talking about some young studs who are at the almost not even at their peak yet. And I'm probably past my peak, but I still have to compete. And, it's been discussed, with me and my wife and, oh, TRT. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that. Because once you're on it for the rest of your life. I don't know if I want to sit there and do all that, I want to just compete. If it's called Father Time, you cannot trump Father Time. And if Father Time says, hey, you're done, you're done. But I got into the sport at a late age because I did all the semi-pro football and rugby before. So, doing that, that's where all my prime was in that sport and not in this sport. And, get into it late. It's like, okay, what can I do until my body says I can't do it no more? So one of the things I want to do, and I'll flat out tell people, when it's all said and done, I want to say I want a Masters national title. I want a Masters world title. I came close on 2 separate occasions, right? Took third at my highest national and Masters. I took third. At my highest worlds, I took second in the Masters division. Had I not done Arm Wars, had I not going to do this Monster Factory, I would have been over there in Chicago this past weekend, gunning for that. Now, knowing what I know and knowing, what I saw, I'm thinking, man, you know what? Why not me? How come I can't be on there? I can compete with those guys at my age, right? At my level. So I'm gonna try to make it a point next year to go because I really want that on my resume. I mean, like, here you are, Ryan Espey. You've got your Canadian Nationals, you got your WAF Nationals, you got your Canadian Hall of Fame. You can sit there and go, you know what? I'm good. You know, there's times I feel, and this is where I'm hard on myself. There's times I feel like I cannot have certain conversations with people because I don't have the accolades. So I'm always like fighting myself about that. You know, in my group, the original core group, I was the last guy to get a state title. You know, I feel like even though I work twice as hard as they do, but it was never ever to be like them. So I felt like I didn't belong in certain conversations, you know, and, you know, fast forward now, you know, they're kind of just in and out. I'm sitting up here still grinding, you know, I'm on this roller coaster ride where I'm thinking, okay, all this hard work is starting to pay off. Now I got to get some wins and stuff. So I always felt like if I don't have a national title or a world title, I can't talk about certain things, or I'm not allowed to talk about certain things, or I felt like I didn't belong in those conversations because I didn't have that kind of stuff. And that's just my personal pet peeve of me. So,
well, here's the thing. First, we got to talk about Jeff Frank giving us an $11 super chat just
thank
for
you,
support.
Jeff.
Thank you, buddy. Good to see you back, and good luck in your fighting career. For those that don't know, Jeff is training to enter the world of mixed martial arts. But back to this thing. So TRT is a fine line, right? Because, I mean, we're talking about differences across national borders. So let's take Mexico. You can walk into a pharmacy in Mexico and you can buy anything you want as far as performance enhancement goes. You don't need a prescription. In the United States, you can get TRT in certain states very, very easily.
Yeah.
In Canada, in some provinces, you can get a prescription from a pharmacist for it. In Manitoba, it is almost impossible to get it. You have to see an endocrinologist and be analyzed and have your testosterone studies done and be on the low end in order to get doctor-administered TRT. There isn't this kind of level where, you know, Vitor Belfort is on TRT and the next thing you know, he's killing everybody. But when he's off of it, he's kind of not good at all.
Right.
It's just a whole different thing. So where do you draw the line? I mean, we've heard I have witnessed John Brzezinski say he's on TRT with the occasional miss dose. What the hell does that mean? You know, so there's different ways to look at this thing. I will tell you that it is pretty difficult to get an exemption at a world level for TRT. It's almost impossible to control what is happening in the sport.
Right.
As far as that goes, unless you put in USADA level testing out of meat. However, most arm wrestlers don't need to pay attention to the rules, and they will just avoid things that are drug tested, which really are only two. For North Americans, it's 2 tournaments a year. It's the IFA and WAF Worlds. That's it. Right. Those are the only 2 that you have to worry about. Where I kind of have another issue is the Nationals is open to enhanced athletes for all intents and purposes. You can say that it's not happening there, but we all know it is. Right. And then why does that seem to be the end of the line for a lot of guys? And then they simply choose not to go to the Worlds or move into a pro style event.
Right.
So it's also taking an opportunity away. So if I could make a wish, it would just be that the enhanced guys would avoid, you know, that process of provincials, nationals, worlds, or state nationals, worlds, so that the guys that are truly competing as a clean athlete can continue on.
But I tell you what, it is fun when you crack somebody who is on stuff and you're natural. I've done that before, but of course, I didn't know those guys were on stuff until after the fact. Yeah. You know, I was like, really? So I'm kind of going, huh, all right. And maybe I'd rather know that, because if I know that going into it, it's already in the back of my mind that, okay, you know.
Yeah.
He's
Jake
on
and
it.
I agree. More money at pro level, go do whatever you want to do, but stay away from the ones that have rules against it. And I know that's asking people. And I think my perspective has changed a lot because my daughter's now competing at a national level for arm wrestling.
Yeah. Well,
That's probably changed my perspective a great deal in the past few years.
And for me, I'm very blessed to have the opportunities I've gotten in 2021. 2022, I kind of stayed local for the most part. Went to Nevada, Arizona, but Nevada, Arizona. But this year I've been very blessed to go across the pond. I'm blessed that I get an opportunity to go to Arkansas in 2 weeks. I'm blessed that are you aware of the World Series of Arm Wrestling by Greg Sharp?
I have heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So he has like 4 qualifiers that will culminate into like the finals. So they're broken down in regions. Each region they're going to have one New York. Qualifier in the West is Riverside, California. The qualifier in the South is in Texas. And then the qualifier in the North is Utah. So I'll be going to the one in Utah. That's September 9th that weekend. So I think you got to place top 3, I think, or something like that. All those qualifiers that place top 3 go to the finals in San Diego in November. So again, here we are. And dare say, I run into somebody who's on something like, okay, fine. Yeah, there's going to be some cash flow at the end. So, if there's going to be cash, there's a good possibility somebody's going to be on the juice, sauce, call it what you want, pancakes, waffles, whatever, that kind of stuff. So, but what I was getting back to is that I've been given opportunities to participate in that, and I'm blessed, but I really need to get back on track on, okay, hey, if you want that national title, you have to attend in order to get it, right? So watching some of my guys from my state of Oregon go there and compete and win, I'm thinking, damn, that could have been me. That's another year missed that I could have done that, but I just got to get back to it. You know what I mean?
So there was another a point that came up on the arm wrestling message boards that's kind of leans me back to this whole topic of today's arm wrestling superstars, and that was somebody had made the post, who is most responsible for the growth of arm wrestling to where it is today? And of course you had 75 people say Devin Larratt, a bunch say Ingen and Neil, and there's good cases for each of them. I brought up the fact that it has been a decades old grind for people that are for people behind the scenes. I'm talking about the Dave Devotos, the John Miazdiks, the Fred Roys, the Leonard and Denises, the Frank and Karen Beans of the world that have been holding this sport together for decades and decades.
Yeah.
And my suggestion was a lot of those folks are probably more responsible. I'll throw Rick Pinkney in there as well.
Yeah.
That are largely responsible for keeping this sport alive over the past 50 years in North America, so that it's been able to see these peaks and valleys and gotten us to the point where the YouTube generation of superstars has been able to take off. And of course, Neil, I mean, you got to give him credit because he's been around forever. Same with Ingen.
Right.
But as promoters, Neil aside, I mean, Ingen's very recently into the promotional world. Somebody even threw Larry Wheels in there. Well, he does deserve some credit. He's very new.
Are we? Yeah, if we're talking like longevity, yeah, that's when
My argument is, without those people I mentioned, are the ones today even a thing? Like, are they even in arm wrestling? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And before I answer that, I'm gonna answer Mega Slice because it's the second time that question. So, how good you think is U.S. national IFA pullers? I'll tell you this: last year's IFA Worlds, the ladies from USA dominated. I'll say that. Because last year's IFA was in France, I believe, and they dominated. We sent some good guys over there. We sent Wayne Withers over there. I believe Corey Miller was over there. We got some decent pulls that can do damage. It's just there's so much split between the two because you're not getting the best of both worlds at one event. You're only getting half. So there's always going to be that, and it's unfortunate because even then, like when I went to the IFA Worlds in Florida, right, and 2021, and I took second in Masters. Cool. For me, that's a big accomplishment for me. But at the same time, there was always chirps that, yeah, but it wasn't the real world title. It's almost like when you won that NBA championship. If you're like the Lakers and you won that NBA championship in the bubble, it's like, yeah, but it's the bubble. And there's always that asterisk, right? So it's going to be like that. That's unfortunate. It's just going to be like that. And, God forbid you rain on someone's parade, but there's decent pullers. The question is, getting back to Omega Slice, is that how many of those winners are going to actually go to Worlds? That's the thing. That's what it comes down to.
The part of my issue is you can't judge. It's very hard to judge. I know what he's trying to say. There's three national championships in the United States. In each class, you can have a varying quality of arm wrestler, but that's not the problem of the arm wrestler. I mean, you said it before. Your job is to show up and win. Is that what you said, Jody?
Yeah, just show up and win. All the rest, let the pieces fall they may. You only got 2 jobs.
I think the IFA has a lot of potential to grow. I am very critical of the world leadership in that organization because I think they could be doing a lot more to promote their brand.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like low-hanging fruit that are out there. And I've said it before, the main reason for IFA can't be because we hate the other guys. It's got to be on its own merits.
It's no different than when you go back to the early 2000s, where you still had WAF, because WAF's been around forever, right? But then you also had that World Championship in Petaluma. Remember that?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, okay, well, you have somebody, because my teammate, one of the guys that kind of helped me get into the sport, he won a world title in '98. I'm thinking, all right, cool. So one day I was kind of looking up and you know what, I love Eric Racin's Armwrestling Almanac. So I'm looking up WAF, because I'm thinking WAF Championship. He won in '98. Went to his weight class, didn't see his name. I'm like, what the? He even got a tattoo on his arm. I'm like, what the fuck, man? Why you're a world champion, but you got a tattooed on your arm, but I don't see your name on here at any point.
The confusing part about that was they were both WAF. The two organizations back then were both WAF.
Yeah.
One was World Arm Wrestling, one was World Arm Sport.
Right.
So you had the two WAFs battling it out. 1998 was the split. You had the championship, I think, in like Egypt or something, and then you had the one in Thunder Bay, Ontario.
Mm-hmm.
Thunder Bay was a good tournament. It was a small tournament, but the quality was there. You had guys like Mike Barrett, you had Earl Wilson, you had Marcio Barboza, Neil Pickup, Yoshi Kanai. Like the list goes on and on and on. The quality was there. It was just small.
Right.
So you can't argue that it was not a hard tournament to win. It was a goddamn hard tournament to win. And the guys that won world titles there did an amazing job.
Yeah. So what
I could argue that the other WAF over the years was like the one they were competing. And the Thunder Bay one is the one that eventually rose to be the only one for a while.
Yeah.
Now the question is, what's better, IFA or WAF? I mean, Dan, that's a tough one. You must argue that at the moment, WAF is the hardest tournament in the world to win still. IFA has the potential, but then there's these outliers because in certain weight classes, IFA could be the one.
And by the way, there are 2 different weight classes.
Yeah.
They're not the same, by the way. So if right now I weigh 234 right now. If I'm going to WAF, I'm 242. I'm pulling that class, right? Now, if I'm IFA, all I got to do is lose 3 pounds and I'm pulling the 231 class. So there's your difference, right? So again, it's one of those things. 2 different organizations that offer 2 different kinds of weight classes,
Yeah.
And now If somebody's a world like there, I think world title's been labeled for so many events. Yukon Jack was labeled as a world title at one point. What is it? Was it not?
Yeah, it was. Dan, I love that comparison.
Yeah, see? Then you got the guy I was telling you, he won his world title at the Petaluma Wrist Wrestling World Championships, where it was always held in California. So it never went anywhere. It always stayed in California. But people like Ingen Terzi came there. People like Neil Pickup came there.
The history of that event is makes it a legitimate world title.
Right. So you can't take anything away from that. You know what I mean? So, there you have it. But it's weird. It's like, I guess where am I going with this? I don't want people to train hard, strive for that, get that title, national or world, and then all of a sudden someone has them say, yeah, but it's not this. I'm like, the sport has changed. I don't think it's going to, as we know it now, it's not going to be the WAF of 2006. It ain't going to be like that. It's just not, because we got so many other organizations that, even though, well, who'd you beat? Well, the big names, at least from the States, this is going back to what I said earlier in the show. Those guys have been there and done that. They don't need to do that anymore. Travis doesn't need to go to Worlds. He won his Worlds. Chafee won his Worlds. John won his WAF Worlds with left-handed, by the way.
Yeah, that's right. So, Dan Flexman, too bad we can't compete at both. You can once. So if you do WAF first, then you can go to IFA, but then you can't go back to WAF. Plus, it's expensive.
But again,
across the pond for North Americans, for the most part, to go to both world championships just to find out.
Right. Is Ingen's like, okay, so when Ingen's organization, East vs. West, if you're the top guy, are you a world champion?
Well, they're calling
just
them
the
that.
East vs. West champion.
Yeah. I mean, you would be considered like a professional world champion. So way I see it is nationals, worlds, you're kind of like on the level of the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
You go into East versus West, that's like, going from the Olympic to pro sports, like the NBA, for example. However, just like in the Olympics, the pros can go back and compete.
Right.
But different rules, different stipulations.
Because there's some prestigious titles that are no longer there, but they meant something. The Golden Bear, we'll just use that as an example. A prestigious title, and that was like another event that it was the who's who, and this was back, and there's a picture that the Vancouver arm wrestling team had, British Columbia. There's a picture of Dave Hicks, John Brezink, and Bill Brezink, of all of them winning their Golden Bears, back when a Golden Bear was like the thing. Like, if you won that, you did something. So, and they don't have that no more, unfortunately. So that was a big deal. The Arnold's is a prestigious tournament here in the States. If you won that, it meant something. But I think with so many organizations rising and being born, and all the big names are going there, do you think, Ryan, it kind of waters down the prestigious tournaments that used to mean something?
I don't think that waters it down. I think the emphasis being on the professional events kind of maybe waters it down, and people in I don't think this is a problem globally. I think it's a problem in North America that people pay less attention to world level tournaments than they do the super match style of arm wrestling. And I think it's just for the entertainment factor of it all.
Yeah. And like I said, if somebody were to ask me, which do you prefer? I prefer both. It's just, I got to train differently. I got to train differently because, Ryan, if you're going to, IFA Worlds, you're going to train a little bit different than as if you went to Arm Wars against, Alex Kradeka. Different kind of training because you're pulling the same guy over and over. And if you're getting worn down, he's getting worn down. Whereas in a tournament format for Worlds, I got to make sure I hit that bullseye every single time, especially if I'm getting like 20 guys in my weight class. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I truly believe that the national championships in Canada is the hardest tournament to win. Now,
triple elimination, by the way.
It is triple elimination. I was a little bit disappointed when I heard Devin Larratt say in one of the press conferences for one of Magda's events that the Ontario Provincials was harder than the national championship to win.
Wow. Is that a slap in the face to all the rest of the provincials?
That is a mentality that comes out of certain areas.
How you doing, Cody? Welcome to the show, by the way.
Mac. Big match for you coming up. Big match.
What does that mean for all the people in BC, Saskatchewan, Alberta, New Brunswick, Quebec? What does that mean?
It's a big kick in the ass for them. Like it's a slap in the face for them, but it was disappointing to hear that. And I've lots of Ontario guys have come over and not been able to win their class.
Right.
Like there's killers across Canada. Some of the best rivalries were like the Ontario guys like Pat Mastrangelo and even Troy Eaton with guys like Fraser Benoit from Alberta.
Right.
Yeah, Billy Berg, 100% agree. Scott, it's one guy's opinion. Yes, it is, Scott, but he's got an audience, a big one.
But, he's at a stage in his career where he likes the one-on-one. That's cool.
Yeah.
He likes the one-on-one. And, if that's what he wants to do, God bless him. But don't sit there and just kick everybody in the nuts over that comment because, that's not fair. You know what I mean? So
I had no problem taking their money, though, by running a clinic at the Nationals this year.
So my goal for 2024, attend the Nationals, IFA Nationals, and go get that national title I've been yearning for so long. It's going to happen. It's going to happen, but I got to really just focus on that. But again, if I get these awesome opportunities, I can't pass up. And we're talking bucket list events. These are bucket lists. I can't say no to that, So,
yeah. Well, if things go really well for me business-wise for the rest of this, for the next little while, I might be heading to the IFA Worlds.
There you go.
Malaysia.
Malaysia, yes.
Yeah. I don't think I'm going to be welcome at WAF, and I do think I'll probably be banned just by virtue of politics by the time the Nationals is over.
Right. Well, they're just hurting themselves. Fine, whatever. It is what it is. So, but Ryan, go ahead and get that. If the planets align like this, then go ahead and get that world title. Go ahead and do it. Because then there ain't too many of us that can say I have a WAF world title and an IFA world title. Not a lot of people can say that.
Yeah. So, oh man, the best comments come from Jay Clean.
Yes, but yeah, we that's what I'm shooting for next year because I get jealous, and when I saw that, I'm going, damn, I should have been there. But I was training for my upcoming match in a couple weeks, so I get it. We're good. So
yeah, taking my kid to the World Championship, that would be an awesome thing to do. Seeing her on a list after that would really piss me off, but I know it's going to happen.
Right.
Yeah. Well, my friend, we went all sorts of different directions. Oh, the battleground, Phil? I cannot confirm or deny.
The only thing we can say is that the dark card will be in May and Arm Wars Iron House 4 will be in August. That's the only thing that I can tell you.
Yeah. Mega Slice. Espey, what year did you win WAF? I won in 2001, 2002, and 2018 with a shit ton of silver medal and bronze medals worked into the mix in the years between. And it was Cody Merritt and I in the final in 2018 with the left arm.
There you go.
All right, everybody. This is our show for the week. It has been all over the goddamn place, but that's okay. Next week, we will be doing some previews, I believe, of Monster Factory 4.
Yes, that will be the preview.
Yeah.
Dare say a prediction? Am I allowed to give a prediction even though I'm on the card? Am I allowed to do that?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll do that. So next Monday,
if you're
we'll
a
go ahead and
referee,
get
I'd say you
predictions to the
probably
Monster
shouldn't.
Factory.
If
What's
you're
that?
a referee, I'd say you probably shouldn't give a prediction.
Oh, I'm not a referee. I'm just going to be there as a competitor. So I'm going to sit there and flex, and I'm going to sit there and flex these low testosterone muscles and just do what I can. So,
oh, Mega Slice, I think I got that wrong. It was 2002, 2003, 2018. 2001, I got long story.
Yeah, but you're not really fond of that 2002 medal. It was all like a big triangle that was no bigger than a keychain.
It means a lot, but yeah, it's very underwhelming. Looks like something you would get out of a little league city championship.
Right. Yes, Phil Woolley, I will see you in Arkansas, my friend. So yeah, Ryan, it will be a good show next week because we're going to go over preview the Monster Factory 4 card. So
yeah, maybe we can get the man himself to come and join us on the show.
Hey, I'll work on that. What do you think?
Yeah.
All right, we'll do that. I'll work on that. You guys enjoy the rest of your Monday, and we'll see you same time, same station next week.
So long, everybody.